What's up, everybody? Paul Hickey here with NoOffSeason.com. Welcome to the Football Card Strategy Show, episode 6. I've got my man from Football Card Quest and NoOffSeason.com, Andy Cason. Good to see you as always, and we're headed into week 3. We are in week 3, and excited to talk some football cards with you, man.
Yeah, man. Let's dig in, Paul. It's a very exciting time. You got a few teams that are 2-0 now. Looks like some dominant forces in the NFL. So we got one set of data points in week 1. Now we've got another set of data points, and now we're headed into week 3. So very exciting time. Still at very much peak hype cycle for a lot of these guys, and it's tightly correlated with performance.
Yeah, and in typical NFL fashion, you've got the Giants and the Dolphins at 2-0, and the Raiders, Bengals, Titans all at 0-2. Some surprises there for sure. A lot of teams at 1-1, obviously, and then you've even got our good old Colts and Texans with the tie from week 1, which is just annoying to see in the standings. But that's just me. So I often tell people that in dinner conversations that I think there's no greater soap opera than the NFL, and so we're living it right now, heading into week 3. So we'll jump right in, and thanks everybody for watching. We'd love it if you drop a comment. Let us know if you have a question, and also let us know how you think we're doing on the show, what we can do to improve as well. Andy, I believe no one knows more about football cards and the data points than Andy Cason. So I'm going to kind of ask him a bunch of questions, and we'll see where this goes on episode 6. So, okay, actually, I want to start with a question that is a follow-up from the end of last week's show. So at the end of last week's show, I kind of asked you, do you have anything else you want to add to the episode? And you mentioned, if I remember correctly, Julio Jones pretty specifically. And I thought it was a good call by you for a lot of reasons. I'll let you kind of recap that. But we had a audience member write in via email and ask me a question about a specific Julio Jones card. And I wanted to just kind of let you take a second and tell me what you think about this. According to Lenny Levine, this is a rare ball above head photo variation from 2011 Topps Chrome. And he was just wondering if we thought this was a good buy. The price here on ComC is listed at just over $60 including shipping. And I think Lenny is a collector. He's interested in Julio, but I also think he's interested in this from an investment standpoint. He knows why we're here. More from an investing standpoint than collecting. A little bit of both, but skewed towards investing. So as we look at a guy like Julio Jones, who was inactive in week 2, didn't play in week 2, probably will be fine. He'll probably come back and do kind of what you thought he was going to do heading out of week 1. What about this? Talk about Julio, why you like him, why you liked him last week, but also this card specifically. Do you know anything about this versus his just regular base photo from 2011?
Well, yeah, this card is considerably more rare. Just like looking at the PSA 10 population of this card is only 5, literally 5. Wow. Whereas the normal variation of him catching a pass at chest height is got a population significantly higher. It's several hundreds, if I'm correct. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but yeah, Julio Jones, knee contusion, week 2. Man, I was bummed out that he was inactive. Yeah, that was definitely a bummer because I was expecting a lot more. We needed a lot more. Through the first 2 weeks, Tom Brady has the fewest amount of fantasy points out of any quarterback in the NFL. And we're still 2-0. Thank God. Our defense kind of came through, and we got vintage Jameis. But that card at $60 raw, I think it's got a lot of merit behind it, right? Because Julio's a Hall of Famer. He's a lock for the Hall of Fame. And he's, this is clearly Tom Brady's final year. We just picked up Cole Beasley another veteran guy who's been around the league and he's put up great numbers, to just add depth to like get warm bodies in our receiving room and just to keep Tom Brady going. Like, he needs guys to throw the ball to. And now Mike Evans is going to be suspended again with a fight that he got into on Sunday with Marshawn Lattimore. And so there is definitely receiver needs on our team, and Julio Jones could play a critical role if he's healthy, but he's got to be healthy. We know he's been this long injury rap sheet. I like that card. I love the scarcity around it. $60 raw. I think it's about market value. I think that's fair. Upside in that card, I would say probably his best path for upside is a playoff run, from Julio with Tom Brady, and of course him being healthy and like exceeding expectations. I think that's where we're probably going to see the biggest spike for Julio, and he could probably maybe end up selling that for 100 because it's the only one on there. I would actually say, hey, get that thing graded. Get it graded. Hopefully it comes back a 10. Now you're talking about something that is considerably more valuable, and also like it'll warrant that value as well.
Yeah, I like that. I talked about it on the Sports Card Strategy show on Monday, and I said I thought it seemed like a fair price, but I wanted to ask you. And my thought was like, it's not for me because I didn't know if I would personally be able to sell it for more than the $60 later. But I like your idea of getting it graded and, being closer to the football card market. I trust you. So that's a good call. All right. I wanted to ask you a question about some quarterbacks. So first up, I did rearrange my entire football card rankings during the season. Every Monday morning, I'm getting up and rearranging my entire football card rankings. So I want to talk to you about that in a second. But first, I want to talk about some of the quarterbacks that obviously are notable coming out of week 2. And many of them have been notable for longer than just coming out of week 2. But according to marketmoversapp.com by Sports Card Investor, where you can get your first month for only $1 by using the promo code NOOFFSEASON, we've got Josh Allen, who dominated the Titans on Monday night. 3 touchdown passes to Stephon Diggs. And I mean, he looks like everything that his investors thought he would be so far. But you've got a price change of, over the last 365 days, 24% across 602 cards. He's 24% up. Okay. So then you've got Tua, who looked like an MVP. Sorry to our guy Carter, who has consistently said that Tua can't play. And I love Carter, so this is not knocking Carter. I just think it happens to us all, right? Like I'm wrong about a ton of stuff, and maybe he's still right about Tua, but so far, Tua's proving him wrong. So anyway, Tua's up 11%. His volume, both of these guys' volumes have increased as well. Tua's sales volume, selling more than 260% more cards. He's up 11% value-wise, over 865 cards. And then we've got Lamar. So Lamar is down 26% across 502 of his rookie cards. His volume's up 5%. Now, this is just a real flash snapshot of data from the last 365 days. So from an argument standpoint, you can poke holes in data, right? Like, we know that. But we also know that like data informs us in a lot of good ways, and you've got to dig a little bit further. But the point I wanted to bring up here is that you've got Allen, Tua, and Lamar. You'd be hard pressed to find another quarterback, maybe other than Jalen Hurts. I might be missing somebody, but maybe other than Jalen Hurts, who's really lit up the stat sheet as much as these 3 guys in the first 2 weeks of the season. And you've got one of them that you would think his prices would have increased more in the last year, but it hasn't. And so not only that, but it's gone down 26%. So if we toggle it, we see Lamar is generally up, but he's actually in the last 30 days down 1%. He's even in the last 7 days. So really, not much of a spike. Now he lost. He's 1-1. He lost, even though he had an MVP individual performance in week 2. But then if you do the same thing with Allen, he's up, in every single day range, he's up, he's even the last 7 days. And if we do the same thing with Tua, you're going to see that he's consistently up as well. So you've got, again, Lamar down, Tua and Allen up. What my takeaway here is that, on nooffseason.com, I'm holding pat with Lamar as my number 2 guy as an investment. Like if you were to buy today or be able to pick someone's card today and have it go up during this season or over the next 6 months, I've got Lamar still ranked higher than Josh Allen and, still ranked higher than Tua. I did move Tua up a little bit on the list. He's number 16. He used to be, I think, in the high 20s. But what's your take on these 3 guys, in the way that I outlined this? Are you buying all 3? Are you selling all 3? Are you holding all 3?
I actually just sold a nice Lamar field level for 125 over the weekend. It's a card that I've had for a while. I actually cracked it out of a BGS 8.5 slab. So yeah, it was a nice profit for me. And honestly, I could have held it. Actually, I'm in the market to buy Lamar. He is playing absolutely incredible. I mean, at a very high efficiency rate in passing, and also, still has the same mobility. He looks like 2019 MVP Lamar. It was just, I mean, they were up big time in that game this past weekend, and so they could very easily, if the ball to bounce their way, gone 2-0, but their secondary just kind of crumbled towards the end. And those guys are incredibly hard to cover, and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and Tua put it on them, man. And so they let the Dolphins come back and take that game away, and it was no fault to Lamar, man. He did his job. I mean, he put up like almost 50 fantasy points. He's absolutely balled out, between Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman and him on his legs, a 78-yard long run that he busted open where nobody could catch him once he busted through the line. So, yeah, I'm buying Lamar because I've actually been tracking their raw optics between Lamar and Josh Allen since before the season started. And when I look and go back to the end of August, beginning of September, Lamar's base optic raw was $35. Josh Allen's was $150. And then after week 1, I saw transactions going for about 40 and Josh Allen going for 225. And then after this past week, I see Lamar's going up a little bit more. I saw several buy it now transactions close for 60. Josh Allen's now at 250. So I'm seeing this creep at least on the raw cards that I'm tracking. Also, through my data app, I do see that the trend is up for his base Donruss PSA 10, his base optic, but he's still between 25 to 30% of what a Josh Allen is. So from an investment standpoint, like you're right, your rankings are spot on because I right now buying into Josh Allen has all of this success and expectations baked into it, where Lamar is just as good of an athlete. I mean, you could look at them on paper and even a better rusher. And if Lamar continues to play the way he's playing, I absolutely love buying into him at his price point now for the rest of the season.
Cool. Well, one more guy that I wanted to talk about in this discussion that may seem kind of out of the blue, but maybe not, is Deshawn Watson. So Deshawn Watson, we know, is suspended for the first 11 games of the season. We all know why. Is he coming back week 13? Like, is that going to happen for sure, Andy?
Yes, from everything that I see and read, yes, he is coming back after their bye week, week 12, coming back week 13, starting against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, so again, revenge game, right? You talked a lot about the schedule leading into the season. You made some great points about like Baker facing Cleveland, Russell facing Seattle, Deshaun coming out against Houston. A lot of revenge games here. There's one that I'm missing as well. I can't think it off the top of my head. But anyway, Deshaun is down 46% over the last 180 days, 5% over the last 90, 7% over the last 60, 8% over the last 30. What's interesting is over the last 2 weeks and the last 7 days, he's up 1% and 3%, and his volume change continues to rise as well in most of these date ranges. So what's interesting to me is that I think he's a play. But what do you think? I mean, I haven't loved him for a lot of reasons. But with, I know the Browns fell apart, letting Corey Davis get behind the secondary and then, losing to the Jets basically in the last few seconds of the game with I think the Jets scored, but then I think Brissett fumbled or something like that. I was watching the game. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it seemed to me, it was a moment that spoke to me where I thought, okay, the Jets aren't great, but this Browns team could have been 2-0 with Brissett. What's going to happen when Deshawn comes back? What's your take on just kind of Deshawn as a play?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to look past everything that he's got going on off the field, the smear on his reputation and the potential character issues that are there with Deshaun Watson. But I mean, I see a ton of transactions. Like I'm looking already between yesterday and Sunday. I mean, like, yeah, the cards are cheap for Deshaun, but they're selling. Like there's a couple hundred transactions on eBay sold Deshaun Watson rookie cards. And he will be back. And that offensive line is still ranked top 5 in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. You have the best running back in the league through 2 weeks in Nick Chubb. And then you have a dynamic duo with Kareem Hunt. You've got great weapons in Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, tight end David Njoku. So you're right, man. The Jets narrowly came back. Joe Flacco pulled a miracle out of his you-know-what. Garrett Wilson is one of my most hyped up rookies this week on the hype index because, I mean, he got absolutely peppered, put up 2 touchdowns with Joe Flacco, was a critical component of their comeback in that game as well. So Cleveland could have very easily, like their kicker, if Jacoby Brissett didn't throw it was an interception he threw. At the very last seconds of the game, he could have just, given Cade York an opportunity to kick like a 56 or 60-yard field goal. They could have potentially, you're right, gone 2-0. They should have gone 2-0. And their game plan this far of him just managing the game and relying on the run game is working. They've got a tough matchup this week. The Browns are playing the Steelers. So. Yeah, at Thursday Night Football. So they're playing the Steelers, and Myles Garrett right now has a neck injury. That's a key component of their defensive line to create pressure, although Trubisky has not played good. His efficiency has been bad. I mean, he's already been – I've already heard him get booed a couple times in the stands. So I think the Browns could very easily win this game as well. Very winnable game here against the Steelers that just have an anemic offense at this point until they put Kenny Pickett in. And Najee Harris still struggling with foot issues, but I mean they can't really open up anything up right now, so they're really struggling. So I think the Browns could be in a perfect spot in the AFC North. The Bengals are floundering right now, so the Browns could be in a perfect spot competing with Baltimore for that playoff spot, and they could be in a driver's seat, man, when Deshaun comes back in Week 13. The question is, he hasn't played football now, a year and a half. So, and we saw the limited little stint from him in the preseason where he did not look sharp at all. So I'm wondering if, in fact, we are going to get that rusty Deshaun, and he's going to flounder against his old team, the Houston Texans, who have found a way to hang in there against the Colts, who I don't know if they're any good at all at this point after getting shut out by the Jaguars. And then, and then like the game against Denver, I mean, was a low scoring slugfest. So, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I tend to think that he could underwhelm in his opening game. But I do think that the card prices are going to go up into that game, right? And then based on his performance, then they'll react accordingly. Like if he exceeds and they win, then they go up, because they have a lot of room for growth, and people are going to, time has a way of making people forget about his transgressions off the field, so there's that whole narrative as well. And then they're in a spot where they have a playoff appearance because of their supporting cast and everything that they have there.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of takeaways from this. I think I like what you just said about the timing. I think that there actually could be the move to buy him now and then sell him during their week 12 bye leading into week 13, because I believe it will take him a while to knock the dust off. Even if he comes out and rushes for a couple touchdowns close to the goal line, I could actually see something like that happening where he puts up some numbers and generates some hype, but it's not necessarily like a pretty game for him. And then it takes him a few weeks to kind of knock the dust off. So, all right. Shout out to Chad Gill and Benjamin Clayton, who are active in the comments section. Let's get to their questions real quick. So Chad asks about an Aaron Rodgers rookie PSA 10 for $500. He says ridiculously cheap compared to most other current QB rookie prices. Do I buy Rodgers for a long-term investment? Let's clarify what card he's talking about real quick. Because there's a couple cards, obviously. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have as many as like a Joe Burrow, of course, but
I'm guessing it's the base tops. I'm guessing that because that is his most
PSA 10. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
the last sales of that card are all between $500 and $580. Although the last time, all 5 of those sales were in May, so I'm not sure. Who knows if that's actually still a $500. That's on eBay, so they could have been sold on MySlabs or somewhere else. I'm just looking at eBay real quick. So,
and if you look at what that card was doing in the playoffs last year, that was about a $1,400 card. So I get where your mind's at there, and I think it's obviously a very solid buy because tons of merit, Hall of Fame lock, So and the guy still is planning on playing for the next couple of years, and once again we see him shake off the rust now against the Chicago Bears, who really showed their weaknesses on Sunday night. But I mean, Rodgers was able to easily exploit them with a solid run game to set up, some, calculated critical passes when he needed to. But I think that's a great buy long term, especially for the course of the next 3 years, because I could easily see the Packers. I mean, I think we would be shocked if they weren't in the playoffs this year. And Rodgers plans to play for, I think, another 2 to 3 years at least. So, yeah, you got plenty of time to capitalize on some Green Bay Packers hype here in the future.
Yeah, I agree. This was actually my buy of the week. After week 1, right after week 1 on Monday, Kendall and I, we did the Sports Card Strategy show. I think it was episode 47. And my buy of the week was Aaron Rodgers for all of these reasons, even though I just despise him. I just really, I always have. It has nothing to do with any of the COVID stuff and the other weirdness in the last 24 months. It's really just, I've never liked him. I'm a Lions fan, and we really don't like Packers players. And I really don't like Aaron Rodgers, but I do agree. I think it's a great buy from, taking the emotion out of it and looking at it as an investment. I think it's a great buy, Chad. So Andy blesses it. I'm all in. Great question. Keep them coming. Benjamin Clayton asks about Lamar. If you had $100 or less to invest in Lamar, I love this, to invest in Lamar, what kind of card would you buy? What would your strategy be? So Andy, you kind of take it away here, and I'm going to look up some Lamar cards on Sports Card Investor, just because I on nooffseason.com, we're more focused on more of the lower high end tier of cards. Like our data that we're focusing on is kind of filling the gap that Market Movers and I don't know that Card Ladder really has, like Contenders, rookie ticket autos and stuff. They probably do have some. They don't really have a lot of the cards that I typically search for, so that's what we focus on. So definitely not going to go to nooffseason.com and get too much of a recommendation on $100 or less in the Lamar Jackson player profile. But Andy, what do you think about this idea by Benjamin?
I love it. I love it because I'm in the same market this week, actually looking to revolve the money I just made from the Lamar sale and a nice Jalen Hurts sale that I made and put it back into Lamar. And I bought another Jalen Hurts over the weekend as well, or actually last week. So Right now, like if you're looking at base Lamar cards, I mean, just get something with that rated rookie logo on it. It's even more powerful, in my opinion, from what I see it's sold data wise than the Prism. I think the Prism is fine. But when you look at 2018 Prism and you start looking at like the autograph Prism, they take away the rookie card shield, and the 2018 Prism design just is not as powerful from what I see, especially in a base format, than the Optic or the base Donruss with the rated rookie logo. I think you can get, like I'm seeing a sold transaction from yesterday on Lamar for an Optic Hollow, which is going to be almost as rare as the Prism Silver, but selling for less. And I think when I poll my community, Paul, the optics are gaining more ground. They're gaining more desirability within the hobby than Prism is. And I think it just goes back to that rated rookie logo and the design. And so 2018 Optic is very popular, very, very liquid. And you can get a raw one, a raw base one for $50. I mean, that is a quarter of what the Josh Allen is going for. So you could get 2 of those and then potentially look at grading them or flipping them raw, because I could easily see these getting up to 100, 150. Or you could get an Optic Hollow for 125. This is a card that's got the silver Prism finish and is going to be very rare. And you look at what that's selling for Josh Allen. That's a $500-600 card raw and $1,000+ card now graded. Like I'm at the point now where I'm comparing Josh Allen's optics to Patrick Mahomes' optics, because there was a new high on Josh Allen's Optic PSA 10 of almost $1,000. You can still get that card for Lamar for under $200. I'm looking at an SGC 10 yesterday that sold for $120. So, I mean, there's a PSA 9 Optic for Lamar sold for $67. So there's a ton of opportunity in the Optic market for Lamar. Also, looking at the amount of variations between 2018 Optic and 2018 Prism, there's fewer variations. You look at the pop report, much lower pop report. So, yeah, I'm a big proponent and advocate of buying 2018 Optic for Lamar.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, I would agree. I'm just going to echo Andy's thoughts and give you my specific what I would do, Benjamin, is I would avoid Prism as well. It's just a little bit out of my – it's obvious. It's first of all, it's out of the budget if you want to go PSA 10. I don't think it's likely that you would buy raw and then grade that to get a PSA 10, and it's a little bit too risky because like I'd be looking for upside with my $100. And so if I go Prism, then I go raw, I'm going to pay 55 at least. If I get it graded and it comes back a 9, I'm underwater big time, because that's not going to sell for much more than the raw. And then there's really not that much upside to justify all of that in the 10, unless he does like win the MVP, which could happen. But if you go Optic, I like what Andy's saying, because you have more options. And I do agree with the hot take that the card design is better. And also interesting that Andy has some data on that from his community at Football Card Quest. I think it's patreon.com/footballcards if you want to join his premium subscription product. It's phenomenal. I know that. What I would do though is, so like one thing I would be tempted by is like, okay, I could get the Donruss base 2018 PSA 10. However, I think that while that could double, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, it's probably not going to more than double. But if you go, like Andy said, a little bit into the Optic base, first of all, the Optic base PSA 10 is not that much more than the paper. So that's one option. It's a little bit out of your budget. But I like what Andy just said here. If I have $100 and I want to roll the dice on a Lamar and try to get as much upside as possible, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the Optic Hollow raw for less than my $100 if I can, or right around 100. And then I'm just going to say, you know what? Cost of doing business, grading fee, PSA, send it in for $30. And if you get a 10, you've got the upside of potentially getting close to $1,000 card. This last sale that I'm showing on my screen was only $520, but this was in May. So if he does perform the way that we think he's going to perform, it's closer to $1,000 card in that PSA 10. If you get a 9, you still make money. If you get an 8, you're probably underwater, but not by much. To me, that's worth the risk and rolling the dice. I'm a little bit different than other people, but that would probably be the way I would go, and have a little bit more fun with it. So the parlay of grading.
If you get an 8, I just crack it out, because 8s, I mean, people will literally shy away from 8s and they go for less than raw cards now at this point. But I'm looking at raw transactions of his Prism yesterday, Paul, for $35. The Optic is now around $50, raw $45 to $50. So you can see right there in the most recent sold data from eBay that the Optic is more desirable. And it is notably more rare in terms of population. So yeah, an Optic Hollow for 100 is a smash play. If you can find that anywhere, I would just grab it. Don't even think twice. Or even like getting that card for close to 150. Look at Joe Burrow's Optic Hollow, which has a clear population of probably quadruple what the 2018 Optic Hollow has in terms of print run. And that card's going for 150 still after him going 0-2. You know, the Justin Herbert's 250. The Tua is now up to 100. And I've been tracking that since before the season, when the Tua card you could have got for $30, $40. That's now going for up to 100. The Jalen Hurts is getting right up under 100. And so those cards are creeping up to where Burrow and Herbert are, but the population is so much higher. And Lamar is just a freak athlete, man. And, you know, he's playing for that contract because he did not get the extension he wanted. He's refusing to get an agent, still using his mom. So he's basically going out there to say, guys, this is what I'm worth. And all the beat reporters, all the statistics around him are just showing that he's playing at that MVP level, man.
And I'm all in on Lamar. And, you know, if you're just joining us on the show, or if this is your first time listening to the Football Card Strategy Show with Andy and I, you may not know how high we are on Lamar. So I'm gonna oversell you guys one more time. Here's another example, I think, of where things are a little bit out of whack related to Allen and Jackson. So this is a Contenders Optic Gold Prism rookie auto out of 10 for Josh Allen. Sold September 16th for best offer of $19,000. So great card, but here's an immaculate one-of-one NFL Shield RPA. It's a PSA Authentic and an Auto 10, so it's not a PSA 10. And this other one by Josh Allen, this other Josh Allen was not. It's a SGC 9.5, BGS 9.5 gem mint, but a 9 on the autograph grade. This is a Lamar Jackson Auto 10 PSA Authentic, but it's a Shield RPA and it's less. So, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I feel like this is probably the better card. I'm the first one to say, like, I love the Contenders Optic rookie ticket autos. I love everything about like what lines up on this Allen card. But I think that because this is Josh Allen, it's going for more. And if this were, I haven't pulled up the apples to apples Josh Allen version of this immaculate RPA. My guess is that it's 3 or 4 times the price of this Lamar Jackson. This is another reason why, to me, it just makes more sense to invest in Lamar, even at the higher dollar card level. I don't know if this example makes sense to you, Andy, but it was something I was looking at just real quick.
Yeah, you know, when you get up into that range of cards, things get really interesting because there is quite a bit of variance. Sometimes I wonder, like, did this person just need the cash, you know? So I see
with the Lamar sale.
Yeah, like, you know, there's I don't know, there's just a lot of variance when you get up to that high of a level, especially when I look at some auctions, and then you start to think, okay, was this thing shill bid at all, you know? And you just like look at the bids and you can see, oh, there's a guy that was bidding at $12,000 that had 0 feedback next to his name, and you're like, that's a little interesting. You know, but I'm not saying that happens all the time. I know it does happen from time to time. I just think things get really interesting. It's harder to get, like you're saying, it's harder to get a good gauge on what the average resale price of a card that rare should go for. You know, you can kind of say a range, like this is the range of what 101 NFL Shield PSA 10 card for a hyped up quarterback goes for that's young, you know, and we know that's going to be like a $10,000+ card. For me, you know, the Grail card is the rookie ticket auto. But I get it. The Immaculate is right up there. The Immaculate, National Treasures, and Flawless are the three other brands that are right up there with contenders for me. That would be, I mean, just as liquid and desirable on the high end spectrum.
Yeah, that's true. So you threw out a really good hobby tip, actually, real quick. You and Carter on the Football Card Quest podcast have a segment called Hobby Tip of the Week, which I think is phenomenal every week. And you just kind of threw one out real nonchalantly. And if you guys want, you may already know this, but on an eBay sold listing, you can click on the item and open it. And then you can see in small print, there's a blue text link that says see original listing. If you click that and then you click on the blue text link of the number of bids, it will actually open up the bid history, which I'm sharing on my screen right now. And to Andy's point, you can actually learn quite a bit from the bid history. And, you know, you're not always going to be able to see the bidder's identity. As you can see here, it's the bidder's identities are protected on all bids, but on some of them you can, and you can learn whether or not it's kind of a legitimate bid based on who the bidder is and their feedback, their amount of feedback, how long they've been on eBay, etc. Also, I think what's interesting is this is a starting price of $1 on an item that ended up selling for $18,500. We had a question on the Sports Card Strategy show on Monday about, you know, bidding strategy on eBay. You know, why would you start an item at 99 cents? That's something you and Carter also talk about. I don't know if you have anything to add to this, but I just thought that I'd want to elaborate on what you were saying there because I thought it was a good point.
Yeah, man, it takes big cojones to start a 99-cent auction on a card that big. But honestly, I think that's the best way to do it. When you know your player is hyped up, you know you've got something that's super desirable, and you want to draw in those people. And I would definitely say right now the best time to end it is after a game, and you got to be right? You got to, you know, that player's got to exceed expectations, and hopefully their team also wins, and that's when you kind of hit the double whammy. But that would be the ideal scenario. And when you do it at 99 cents, it just draws in more watchers, and you get more watchers. That means more people are getting notifications as it's getting time to close, and you get more competition because people like, why would you not watch that card if it starts out at $1 thinking that you could potentially get it at a massive steal? And then ultimately now you're getting more people notified, drawing more people in to that card when it comes down to the final hours and minutes, and creating a bidding war where, you know, ultimately you get market value, whatever that is. And if you end it at the right time, the right card, right player, then you could win big.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Chad has another question about Kyler Murray. What's your take on Kyler? Market's way down, but he has D-Hop coming back and Rondale Moore coming back soon. Is he a buy opportunity or run as fast as you can away from him? And before you answer, Andy, just a little bit of data from marketmoversapp.com. Last 365 days, Kyler's down 55%. And if you toggle into the closer time windows, he's always consistently down around 10 to 15%. In more recent days, he's started to sell more, but right around, you know, even to where he was the previous 7 days. So what's your take? I mean, Kyler's definitely down is my point. Like this, if you believe in him, now would be a good time to buy. The question is, Andy, do you believe in him?
I am not personally going out on a limb anymore for Kyler, at least this year. I'm waiting to see. They've got a very difficult schedule. Like if I look at their upcoming schedule, of course, they've got the Rams at home this weekend, and then the Panthers, which is very winnable for them. But then they have the Eagles. So I think it's just going to be a very rocky up and down schedule. Yeah, they get D-Hop back. They desperately need that. But right now through 2 games, Kyler is at the bottom of the league in terms of pressured completion accuracy. And so his deep ball completion accuracy is also bottom half of the league. And you could say maybe that's a effect of not having these weapons But it's also just a matter of leadership and coaching on that team. And we know the 49ers are good. And we could talk about Jimmy G and Trey Lance if you want, but we know the 49ers are good. We know the Rams are good, and the Cardinals are sandwiched in there. It's like, what is their path to success and getting to playoffs? I'm not convinced that the Raiders have a massive weakness in their defensive secondary. So I want to see what the Cardinals can do against the Rams. We saw them, get beat pretty bad by the Chiefs, who have an above average defense. We saw them get beat really bad by the Chiefs in week 1. And so let's see what they do. Like, the Raiders got up early in this game and they sat on it, and they just let Kyler cut him up. And they let him run around too much. They couldn't get to him, and he made them pay for it, and they came back and won that game. So you could have easily said that the ball bounced the right way. The Raiders would have won that game, and they would be 0-2 right now. So let's see what they do against the Rams. The Eagles are a very difficult defensive test as well in week 5. So let's see what they do there. I can't, though, touch Kyler Murray just from the whole aspect. I still feel like he's so young, and there's just a big leadership issue. Like, even when you look at him compared to the way Joe Burrow conducts himself, these other elite Patrick Mahomes, the other Josh Allen, elite quarterbacks in the league, the way they conduct themselves on and off the field. And that whole, and you got to think, Arizona's fan base and market size is a lot smaller than a lot of other teams. They're one of the smallest markets actually in the NFL. So that's kind of going against them as well. And then you got all these other factors going against them. And I just don't think this is a great year for me to invest in Kyler. I feel like I can probably buy in November, maybe even cheaper, maybe even like 10, 20% cheaper than what they are right now.
Okay, great. Moving into week 3, who are your buys or sells? What action do you recommend the audience take with opportunity analysis heading into week 3?
Yeah, so I would say if you're holding any, like Mitchell Trubisky, definitely want to sell in terms of quarterback. Zach Wilson, his market is down a lot, but right now there's a battle between the general management and the coaching staff. The coaching staff wants Joe Flacco. The general management want Zach Wilson to prove that they're right. They spent this early first-round pick on him. They've spent so much draft capital. They got to play him, but you're going to find that Zach Wilson's injury is going to mysteriously linger longer than what it should. So he's one of those guys that he's hard to sell now, but maybe some super rare stuff people are still buying if you can get out. In terms of running backs, sell Derrick Henry. Like, you should have sold him heading into the season. I was telling people to sell him. Now I really think, after seeing him in 2 games, saw him get knocked off his feet in week 1, did not see him have a very good efficiency at all in week 2. And that, yeah, they got behind, but even early in the game, he could not get anything going. So I would definitely say he looks like he is washed, and he looks like he's definitely over that age apex. I'm recommending that people sell him, because you look at his 2016 rookie ticket autos and prisms and stuff like that, they're still way higher than what you would find even on a guy like Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff, like, sell Derrick Henry, buy into Jared Goff. I mean, that's a play to make right there, Paul.
Yeah, I like that. Buy into Jared Goff. You're sticking with your call that you made late in the summer on him, and I like that. Amon-Ra St. Brown sure looked good. He's getting he may or may not get Jameson Williams back this season. Obviously, TJ Hawkinson's there. DJ Chark can be a explosive playmaker. DeAndre Swift looks amazing. Okay, so who else would you potentially buy heading into week 3? Is there anyone that's like a sneaky play, or even just an obvious play that you mentioned that you're buying Jalen Hurts? Is that one, or do you got something else for us?
Well, I wouldn't buy Jalen Hurts this week, because he's now hitting like all-time highs for his rookie cards from what I've seen this week right now. And so he's got a ton of hype behind him and Tua. So I wouldn't necessarily buy to those guys right now. I'd be transitioning more to skill position players and like stacking him. Look at A.J. Brown. He didn't have the amazing game this past week. but he is still a generational talent. He's going to have those 40-point fantasy performances where you're just like, oh my God, super dominant, like Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle type of performances from Sunday, or Amon-Ra St. Brown. AJ Brown's got that same exact potential, if not a little bit more. Buy into him on an underperforming week. Same thing with like Saquon Barkley. His team won, but he had an underperforming week. That presents a little bit of an opportunity for you to find auctions throughout the week to buy into, from what I've seen, and then turn around and take good photos, list those guys in a buy it now format, and sell on a future spike game, and they're in ascending team situations. So I look at another guy. If you're buying Lamar, stack him with Rashad Bateman, stack him with Bateman and Duvernay. Like, you can get both of those guys cards for very cheap still, and those guys are incredible. Like, I'm looking at rookie ticket autos for Bateman of $30, very, very reasonably priced, or optic hollows for $5. That's just a quarter of what the Jalen Waddles and some of the others like Amon-Ra St. Browns and stuff. So that presents a nice opportunity. If you want to get in base, look at optic hollows. If you want to get in something more rare, obviously rookie ticket autos, or even look at immaculates in the $70 to $80 range. Those have potential to go up to $150, $200 if that player just continues to exceed expectations and on this ascension with their team.
Okay, love that. Great call. All right, one thing I wanted to ask you about before we sign off today is around brands and releases. So are there any you mentioned optic earlier on in the program. Are there any brands that you would say, okay, there's an upcoming release, or just in general, I've seen people buy this, but it's not investable? What football card brands should people avoid as investments as they're looking to buy into players?
Yeah, I mean, definitely want to avoid, like Leaf Draft makes a good product, so I'm not going to say avoid them. There's certain Leaf products that don't have chrome finishes and no serial numbers, I would say avoid, but the ones that have those nice chrome finishes like Leaf Metal, they make a nice card. I see those very liquid, especially on rookies. But I would avoid like the base paper Leaf cards. I'd avoid like the base paper Bowman U cards, base paper Sage cards, unless they're very rare autographed serial numbered cards. And you're getting them for like $20 or less kind of range. Then I would say that they're okay. They have upside. Otherwise, I would avoid all of those. I would also avoid sets like Score. I would even avoid spending a lot of money. Like, you have new sets getting ready to come out. Gold Standard just came out. If you're buying into Gold Standard, just be very cautious of how much you're paying. Like, don't buy a Gold Standard out of $199 autograph card for Drake London, for example, for $100. That's not a good buy. Like, you're not going to be left with room for upside. You could potentially break even right now, but as more of that set comes out and as more cards become available for that player, that's like, go back and look at what a 2018, 2019, or 2020 Gold Standard card is of a guy. And so understand that, like, if you're buying it, then you want to immediately list it and try and sell it. Otherwise, avoid it if you're like planning on thinking you could hold this long term, unless it's just got a lot of collection value to you. Then do whatever you want, But Elements is another one. It's a very niche set. It doesn't have this mainstream hobby desirability. A lot of people don't care for it at all, so it just doesn't hold that value long term. So another one, Paul, is Donruss Elite just came out, and they have their Pen Pals insert, which is a cool portrait style photograph. And I looked at this last night with my guy Steve, and we're looking at 2018, 2019, 2020 Pen Pals, DeAndre Swift Pen Pals, like now selling for $30, $40, whereas the 2022 Pen Pals are selling for like $100 or more, like the Garrett Wilson, $100 to $150, the Drake London over $100, the Breece Hall for $100, so like short term, I mean, you could probably break even, maybe make a couple dollars, but long term, it's just going to lose value as more mainstream sets come out.
Yeah, this is a mistake I made last year, buying into certified and some gold standard. I luckily lost out on some auctions for pen pals, but Panini Black I did okay. That one seemed to have more appeal, a little bit more of a market on black. But even that, any of the early rookie autos in football and in basketball follow the pattern that you just described. So yeah, I think be careful on those.
Yeah, like
All right.
even Phoenix,
Yeah.
playoff, playbook, absolute. Like absolute is really people are just buying it to chase the kabooms. Mosaic is another one. Do not buy into these products when they first come out, because you're setting yourself up, man, to pay double and then for it just to lose value, because it's one of those things that, yeah, it's hot for the first week, maybe 2 weeks, and then it just falls off, because long term, you go look at 2020 product from the same sets, and these cards are just going for pennies on the dollar compared to the Prism, the Optic, the Contenders rookie ticket auto, the Immaculate, the National Treasures, and the Flawless.
Yeah, you're going to be able to take the $100 that you would have spent on that Drake London, and you're going to be able to put it with another $100 and get a much better player potentially in a set like an Immaculate or even a National Treasures, and get like a serial numbered auto out of one of those sets a few months after that set comes out, and that's going to hold a lot more value longer. So I think this is a lesson. Like I said, I learned it last year, and I wanted to get your take on that topic. And lastly, before we sign off, I'm about to write an article at No Offseason about the college QBs right now and who could be first round draft picks in April, May. And they've obviously only got maybe Bowman U, maybe Leaf cards out right now. So any advice for me when I'm writing that article for the audience on the reason I ask is I heard you on the Football Card Quest talk with Carter about guys like Jahan Dotson. This was back in August. You were making calls on flipping rookies from some of these sets. Is there any of that opportunity still available with the release? It just seems like there's a longer runway with the release schedule being pushed back. And even some of the releases coming out in pro uniforms, to your point a second ago, they're not the investable ones yet anyway. So is there any opportunity for maybe not necessarily the guys that I'm about to write the article about for next year, but is there any opportunity for this year's rookies, the Dotsons, even the Pickens, the Pickett's of the world? What are you following that closely at all still heading into week 3?
Yeah, definitely, man. And so I think the best set, honestly, and I'll give you guys some insights, a sneaky good set that has a lot of variance in it. Like I literally will find transactions, buy it nows and auctions selling anywhere between like 50, 60 and 150, 160, because they're pretty rare, is the XRCs from 2021 Select. They've got these rookies, and it doesn't have all of them. They basically cut it off after the second round, maybe part of the third round. And they've got the 2022 rookies in their pro uniforms and in this nice chrome silver prism finish. It's also a short print insert, so the print run is 150. And then they have a couple variations like a tie-dye and autograph, like the Garrett Wilson autograph just sold for $320 after this past Sunday, whereas a week before that, it was selling for $220. So somebody had the potential to make $100 there on that card. There's also the same thing, though, with the base silver XRCs. They're just the base XRCs. They're very desirable, very premium. I would say literally, if you can get these rookie guys right now, even like the pen pals are super hot. They just came out. So, but if you go back to like the last set and go look at the Legacy Silver Prism autos that have the pro team logo at the bottom right, they have the big rookie text across the middle, the rookie card shield. Maybe it's their college uniform. but it's autographed and it's got these other components that make it nice. It's still very liquid. If you can find those cards ending in auction on any of these rookies, like Breece Hall is a guy that I'm targeting this week because his athletic profile is so good. And right now, Garrett Wilson is taking the limelight. It's only a matter of time down the season before Breece Hall takes over there and just has an incredible breakout performance. And then all of a sudden we see this massive spike. And it could happen next week. It could happen week 4, week 5. So it's just a matter of time before stuff like that happens. The same thing, happened with Garrett Wilson if you're buying in before this week, or Jahan Dotson before the season started. So, any of these, for Jameson Williams, he is coming back in like the next 3 weeks, Paul. Right now, they say he's getting close, and he's running around just on, non-contact. So, dude, that guy can break some big plays. Obviously, the Lions are ascending, so that's another guy to look at right there, and target these cards. I would say XRC is the premium, and then you look at the cards from Elite, specifically the Pen Pals, and then look at those Legacy Silver Prism Autos, or even the Mosaic Draft Picks autograph cards. And those cards are very liquid. They're very desirable. Even the Leaf Metal autograph cards, if they're rare and they're autographed, these cards are going to be desirable, and people are going to go and buy them at the right price point. So if you're buying them around $20, then you can easily sell that autograph card for $50 to $60. It's just a nice sweet spot. The XRCs you're going to want to buy those for around $50. Be prepared. Like even Treylon Burks, like I tried to get one last night, closed for $75. I just barely missed it, but I still think that was a good deal because I look at what they were going for right before the season started, $130. So some of these guys that are underwhelmed through the first couple weeks as rookies definitely have the potential to break out in a big way. And with the release calendar pushed back, like you mentioned, dude, we're not going to see base Donruss. We're not going to see Optics Select Prism till next summer. Again, it's going to be the same this year. I can absolutely see that already with the current release schedule that we got for the rest of the year. Like they're not releasing Prism draft picks now till the end of November. And that's if it doesn't get pushed out again. So, the release calendar has just been pushed way back again this year. So expect that these cards to do okay for at least like the majority of this season,
Dang, yeah, it's worse than last year. All right, Oh My Shoes, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Go back and watch it, my friend, or go back and listen to it because we're about to wrap up. Andy, do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off for today?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. Just try if you're buying into guys that are hyped up right now. Just make sure you're looking at sold items and looking at what they were just a week ago. Like, don't look at the last 2 transactions. Just scroll back, go back to the second, third page, and see what they were selling at a week or 2 ago. And just understand that they could get right back there after another a week if they lose and just underwhelm. Kirk Cousins is a prime example. I saw people sink quite a bit of money into Kirk Cousins only for them to totally underwhelm Monday night and get beat down by the Eagles. But they got potential. Like it's really cool to see the market has become even more closely correlated to performance than in prior years. It's kind of evolved, which has made it a lot of fun. It's made it even more closely correlated to fantasy football. Yeah, it's made a lot of fun for me. And I did grab a win in the Card Content Creator Bowl this week. So yeah, I'm riding that high, man, going into week 3. I think I got Kendall this week. So it's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, here it is. Wait, no, you've got Mike Ham coming. You beat Mike Ham. You beat Mike Ham. I beat Lou Janu. Love that. Everybody, we had a Would You Rather on the Sports Card Strategy Show. Would you rather have my team with Devontae Smith up 35 points going into Monday night, or would you rather have Lou's team down 35 points with Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and Kenny Gainwell? Pretty much everybody said they'd rather have Lou's team, and then I pulled it out. So glad to see you pulled it out. You've got Lou this week, right? Okay, so Kendall's got the Card Dojo. You've got Lou, and I've got Mike Ham. So let's go week 3. NoOffseason.com needs to go 3-0, baby. Kendall's got to get a win. He's 0-2.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks everybody for watching and listening to the Football Card Strategy Show. I'm Paul Hickey with nooffseason.com, the sports card content network. He's Andy Cason with the Football Card Quest and nooffseason.com. Check him out more at Football Card Quest on YouTube and patreon.com/footballcards. Everybody, thanks so much again. Have a great day. Let's go week 3 and cue the rock music, as Kendall would say.